My child, give me your heart, and let your eyes observe my ways. Proverbs 23, verse 26. This exhortation from the Bible has led generations of Christians to zealously dedicate their lives to the Lord. In 1856, English missionary Reverend Benjamin Keysbury and Chinese Christian Mr. Tan Si Bu established a preaching station at Adam Road, the current location of Singapore Bible College. This was later relocated to the 7.5 milestone of Bukit Timah, the current location of Glory Presbyterian Church. It was then known as the church at the end of the carriageway. In 1881, the English Presbyterian Mission sent Reverend John Cook to succeed the work of Reverend Keysbury. The preaching station became a full-fledged church, the first church of the Presbyterian Church in Singapore and Malaya. The communicant members numbered 39, mostly from the Teochew and Hokkien dialect groups. The church appointed Mr. Wang Zhongzhen as its first preacher. The Atap House preaching station was rebuilt into a chapel, which still exists today as the English Service Office. In 1889, Mr. Joseph Koh became the church's preacher. An advocate of integration between religion and education, he founded the free school at the end of the carriageway, which is today's Pei Hwa Presbyterian Primary School. This view of the myriad languages, cultures, and everyday life of the 19th century may have dated in our memories, but old photographs such as these remind us of a longer history, stories and experiences of the past that connect the mission and sacrifices of generations past to the present. In 1935, Chinese evangelist Dr. John Song arrived in Singapore to organize revival and evangelistic meetings. Many church members responded by forming preaching bands to share the gospel. The church was revived and filled with the Spirit, laying a firm foundation to meet challenges to come. In 1941, the Pacific War broke out. Singapore fell in 1942. In 1943, Mr. Tang Po Keng, church preacher, principal of Pei Hwa School, and the Synod secretary, was detained by the Japanese military and vanished. Not only did the church, school, and synod lose a faithful warrior, many valuable historical records were lost. After the war, in remembrance of Mr. Tang Po Keng, the double-story Pei Hwa School building was renamed Tang Po Keng Memorial Building. Mr. Tang Po Keng was succeeded by Mr. Tan Eng Kui. Faced with a church devastated and dispersed by war, Mr. Tan Eng Kui provided comfort to members and persisted in faithful labor until the end of the war in 1946. After the war, the physical and economic destruction was badly in need of rebuilding. The church likewise was in desperate need for rebuilding and revival. In 1947, Mr. Yap Kok Hu became church preacher and principal of the Pei Hwa School. He was subsequently elected as the first minister of the church. In the same year, the church leadership drew inspiration from Ephesians chapter 5, verse 27, and named the church Glory Church as an encouragement to its members to unite in glorifying God. In 1948, the General Meeting of the Synod of the Presbyterian Church in Singapore and Malaya was convened at Glory Church. where Reverend Yap Kok Hu was ordained as the first minister of Glory Church. Reverend Yap Kok Hu made significant strides in reforming and reviving the church. He established neighborhood preaching points, a Lim Chu Kang preaching station, the youth fellowship, the choir, and the encouragement ministry, among others. During the turbulent 1940s and 1950s, Synod veteran Reverend Kwek King Hoon voluntarily took on an advisory role at Glory Church. Apart from promoting church and school ministries, he mentored pastors and leaders and cared for the flock, and was well loved by members. In 1951, to commemorate the church's 70th anniversary, a campaign was held to raise funds for the new church sanctuary and Pei Hwa School building. In 1955, the new church sanctuary was completed and was dedicated the following year on 2nd January. The total cost of construction was $66,500. In 1961, the church set up a committee for the building of the new sanctuary of the Lim Chu Kang preaching station. The new sanctuary was completed in 1966. The preaching station became a full-fledged church in 1977 and is today known as Yong Kwang Presbyterian Church. In 1968, to accommodate the spiritual needs of English-educated children of church members, the English service was started. The Presbyterian Church of USA sent missionary Reverend William J. Kirkman to serve in the English service from 1971 to 1975. In 1974, Reverend Ban Yan Ui was engaged as associate minister to assist the 88-year-old Reverend Yap Kok Hu. Reverend Ui became moderator when Reverend Yap was called home in 1978, and he continued in this role until 1999. Under the leadership of Reverend Ban Yan Ui, various church ministries flourished. In 1976, the Glory Children's Home was founded. This is today known as Glory Kindergarten. In 1978, the bilingual service was started. In 1981, in celebration of the church's centenary, the Phase 1 extension project, including the front of the main sanctuary and the pastor's men's, was completed and dedicated. In 1985, the Phase 2 extension project, which included the 4-story educational building, was completed and dedicated. In 1987, the Mandarin service was started. In 1990, the Pei Hwa Primary School's new campus was completed and was dedicated in 1991. At the same time, the English service expanded in worship attendance. In 1989, a 9:30 worship service was inaugurated. In 1991, Reverend Sun Ai Meng was ordained as Associate Minister, the first ordained minister from the English service. In 1995, the Thai service was started, catering mainly to migrants and workers from Thailand. The Thai service was registered as an independent church in 2007, but continued to borrow the premises of Glory Church for its worship services. In 1997, the renovation of the educational building was completed. The 9:30 English service was relocated from the Pei Hwa School Hall to the newly renovated chapel. A third English service at 11:30 was started at the same chapel. In 1998, Reverend James Ng was appointed interim moderator. He was elected moderator in 1999, leading the church into the 21st century. In 2004, the latest Pei Hwa Presbyterian Primary School's campus was completed and dedicated. Both Chinese and English services collaborated in sowing gospel seeds in the mission field of Pei Hwa Presbyterian Primary School. In 2005, the Glory Family Service was established to cater to before and after school care needs of students. In 2007, the Chaplaincy Works Committee was started to strengthen the chaplaincy team and to promote the gospel work in campus in a more coordinated way. Glory Church has been active in promoting mission work. Local missions include Indonesian and Filipino fellowships, as well as the Love Fellowship, catering to new migrants from China. Overseas missions include mission trips to Thailand and Cambodia and church planting in Johor Bahru in Malaysia. In July 2013, in compliance with the Code of Governance for Charities, a special congregational meeting was called to vote to accept the new Synod and Church Constitutions. The Church Constitution was accepted in March 2014. In June 2015, the Church conducted its first annual congregational meeting under the new registration and Constitution. In 2020, Singapore was hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. Physical services were gradually reopened after 9 months of suspension. In order to continue caring for and engaging with church members, church worship services and activities shifted online. The pandemic has prompted the church to reflect on the meaning of physical worship and how it can use different channels to promote evangelism and pastoral care. Today, the Chinese and English services have combined active members of approximately 1,500, with 13 pastoral staff and 50 registered elders and deacons board members. From 1881 to 2021, a period of 140 years, generations have come and gone, but ambassadors of the gospel remain. Each individual is called to preserve the faith, to love God and man, to bring people to Jesus, and to repair broken relationships between man and God, and to live out the gospel of peace and harmony. In the face of uncertain global situations and a society craving for meaning, how can Glory Church continue to be the salt and light for the Lord? May God help us live out the truth and live out our mission. To be committed to worshiping, nurturing, caring, and witnessing for Christ, so that all might become disciples of Christ, maturing into Christ-likeness, to the glory of God.